Well, that was absolutely shite, wasn't it? City have just lost 2-1 to Brentford in the Premier League. Roll on 2023, eh? Genuinely. Let's see how it goes for next year. I was not enjoying that by any stretch of the imagination. Anyway. That was poor. It was genuinely poor. Where do we start with a game like that? My instant reaction is that how can you avoid the World Cup? How can you avoid the World Cup? You just struggle to do it, man. You can't. That is the elephant in the room, the big Qatar elephant. And that's sort of on the players. And it maybe is on Pep as well at the same time for not realising that it's on the players. Brentford, I'm going to be graceful. Brentford deserved that win today. They did. Any Brentford fans, any Bees watching this, if the Bees are Brentford fans, never mind, terrible joke. Yeah, they deserved it, man. They really did. They were the better side. They defended compactly. They used the ball better. They countered well. And they created bigger chances than City did, if we're being totally honest. Ederson made a few good saves. And they absolutely deserved it. So, yeah, fair play to them. Fair play to Brentford. They deserved that. Now, of course, at this point, this is the bit where I turn it back as a Manchester City fan to Manchester City and think, where did that go wrong? We could talk about Brentford, all day, but I'm not a Brentford fan, so I'm not going to. I'm going to talk about Manchester City. I'm not going to panic. That's the first thing I will say. I'll get that caveat out the way. As good as Arsenal have been, there's nothing yet to suggest that Arsenal are the kind of team that can get 95-ish points. They've had a good start to the season, but logically, with 20-odd games left, I'm not going to get too beaten up. Because I do think City are going to be very much in this race for a long time, and there's going to be many twists and turns. Just you wait until next year in 2023. There's going to be loads of twists and turns. And I think presuming that Arsenal are going to be perfect for the rest of the season is mainly anxiety brought on by Liverpool's perfection over the years. But even they drop points. So I think there's a lot of that playing on here. Having said that, I do think this performance in the context of everything is mildly concerning. Recently, City have got away with a few results. I'm going to get the results up just to remind me. It hasn't been plain sailing, and City's football hasn't been at its best. Fulham, we had to turn it around. Leicester game was tight. Brighton wasn't exactly a great game. Liverpool wasn't perfect. Sevilla game, look, they went ahead early on again, and we turned it around. They're not shocking by any stretch of the imagination, but we have been a little bit porous and we haven't been playing off fluid football at the very best. I'm sure that will come, but it hasn't been a good run of form recently, really. Results haven't been too bad, but the form hasn't been excellent, and it sort of felt like that had been coming if we're being reflective and honest with ourselves and looking in that big Manchester City mirror and assessing our weaknesses. And it did feel to me that this was sort of on the cards, and it happened today. And I am disappointed because, to me, after watching the Fulham game, where we deserved that win, by the way. We deserved the win, even if we have to come from behind again. But watching the Fulham game, when you see a performance so dogged, so determined, so full of quality and aggression and determination to get the 3 points in the face of much adversity, you see a performance like that against another good side. Fulham are a very good side. And then you see a performance like today, and the adjectives I used to describe today were hesitant, cautious, insipid, weak, sloppy, unnecessary. These are all the words that come to mind when I watch a performance like that today. And then you think, well, what's the difference, man? What was the difference? Like, how can we be that good one day and that poor the next? Now, of course, Brentford play into it a lot. But then you think, is it the World Cup? Were the players subconsciously or consciously not there? I would never really question the mentality of Manchester City's players, given what they brought over the years, and once again, given the Fulham game last week. And it's I don't want to write people off. I don't think it's fair. You've got to give them the benefit of the doubt. But it could even be subconscious. Your subconscious plays an awful lot into how you act in the real world. It does, and it could be consciously that they just weren't there, but it could also be that they were nervous. And when you're more nervous, you are hesitant. And when you're hesitant, you make poor decisions or you do things without as much conviction. And if you try and play as good as Man City do, but don't do it with conviction, you get what we saw today. A performance full of mistakes. A performance lacking conviction, literally. A performance where the defenders were hesitant on the ball and they were weak in the challenge, and the attacking players didn't look to beat anyone at any point, and they were giving away sloppy, lazy passes. Or you've got Rodri and Gundo being so passive and not really kind of getting into the game. Physically, there was no real drive or determination or no willingness for someone to take the game by the scruff of the neck and and really get going. And once you've seen the contrast of the Fulham game, you can just sense it. And it's so fucking obvious that it's there, that how can I not point to that as a City fan? I don't, once again, want to question the mentality of these City players, because they deserve our respect for what they've done over the years. But you can only call a spade, and today was really obvious that this was a City side that wasn't there on the pitch mentally for whatever reason. Now, that can happen. And I guess the point I get a bit frustrated is I feel like that so obviously could happen that you've got to start looking for the signs of it nice and early on. And I don't think Pep really reacted to it. I do sort of sometimes get Guardiola's ideology of like letting the players who are on the pitch sort out the problems. Guardiola is not a big substitute maker in general, because I think he just trusts the process. And you know what? More often than not, that does work, so I get it. But sometimes you can genuinely see that this method and this approach doesn't work, man. Sometimes you can see that, you can sense that it's different, and you can sense that maybe it's ulterior motives, man. And it felt to me like Guardiola wasn't really willing to admit that the problems today came from the players not really being there. I don't get, when I look at that bench today, why you wouldn't make some changes. I know it isn't an explosive, incredible bench, but we only brought Alvarez on. He looked lively when he came on, by the way, and I'm pretty certain he only brought him on because Cancelo had a genuine 2 out of 10 performance and was on a yellow card. But he brought Alvarez on. And then, like, why not bring Jack Grealish on? Jack Grealish just came off the back, in Guardiola's own words, one of his best ever performances in a Manchester City shirt. Are you telling me that Grealish would not have revelled coming on today, the sense of being a hero, and really, really gone at them? I think he would have. Personally, Mahrez as well had a great game. Calvin Phillips is dying for some football. Why not give these guys on to add a little bit of momentum, you know, a little bit of energy, some fresh ideas, and like, look, I even would have had Cole Palmer on the right at one point just to run at people. Cole, get on there, run at people. You've got fucking 30 minutes left, 20 minutes left. Go and try and win this game for us. You've got a month off now. Go and fucking out there, run at your fullback, beat your man, and get a crossing. Use the subs, because the subs are out there to change the game. And what difference does it make? City just weren't good today. We did not use the ball intelligently. We used it lazily at times, and we used it lacking confidence and conviction. Individually, I thought Cancelo, by the way, had a stinker. Cancelo's a weird one. Like, he's either brilliant or really bad. And like, Cancelo's form has been really shit for a while, in my opinion. And I saw some people arguing over Cancelo online and so on. I saw one person arguing that Cancelo just isn't worth the hassle, which is crazy. They were saying, and it's generally not my words, so I'm just repeating it. And the only reason I'm repeating this because I think they had a slight point. When Cancelo isn't playing well today, we force like our best attacking midfielder, our creative midfielder. Like, Foden is forced out wide because Cancelo goes in, and Jack Grealish. Look how good he was the other day. Grealish the other day with an overlapping fullback, way better than Cancelo has been for the past few weeks. It just was. Cancelo is not being creative enough right now to be worth the sacrifice of maybe Foden, of Grealish, and so on. He isn't worth it right now, and he has to be better because his form has been really, really poor. KDB had a stinker as well. I mean, KDB, I've got a lot of love for him, and he's been brilliant recently, but he had a stinker today. Nothing came off at all. Nothing came off. Akanji and Laporte did not have a good day. Akanji I felt a bit for, because I think there's a bit of tiredness as well with some of these. Rodri was passive, man. He was absolutely passive, and you can see that. It just wasn't a good day. I think Grealish deserved to come on. I genuinely did. And I think Guardiola wasn't reactionary enough, and I think he misunderstood the cues, and he should have read it a little bit better. But I mean, what do we do now? I mean, we can moan, but ultimately, like, you know, we're just gonna have to wait and see how Arsenal get on. And I'm cautious about Arsenal, but I'm not terrified of them right now. And that's not in a patronising sense. It's just because they haven't earned the right to be terrified of them. Just because of time, not because they're not good enough. Just we need to see more about Arsenal to see how they're going to be. And they've got to play City twice, you know. And if they beat us, then I'll be terrified, you know. So be it. But right now, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting, isn't it? That wasn't a good day. It wasn't a good day. It was a disappointing day, a very disappointing day. But this City side has to be better than that, you know, and I think Guardiola will realise it too. I mean, I don't have loads to say other than that was abysmal, and then hopefully 2023 will be better. It's crazy to think that we're now looking at 2023, you know. I'm looking at the Premier League table right now. You know, we've played 14 games, so there's 24 games left, which is an awful lot of football. It's an awful lot of points. and I can't panic. But we'll have to see. I mean, even Bernardo, yeah, I agree. There's no magic today from Bernardo, annoyingly. Look, I wish there was magic from Bernardo, but there's not been much magic this season. Loads of energy and guile and work rate, but not much magic. And I do wish we saw a little bit of magic from Bernardo again. And maybe his circumstances, even being tired, maybe he needs a rest. Maybe it's the whole Barcelona thing or whatever. I don't know, but not a lot of magic, sadly, from Bernardo recently. Amar saying, trust this team and manager, they've earned it. No, absolutely, Amar. That's how I feel always. I'm like, I will give people respect until there's not a reason to, and the players do deserve the respect from us as fans because they've earned it over the years. But, it hasn't been a good start to the season. It's been an okay start to the season, and I think right now, it's slightly cautious, Two losses in our last 5 games. Brentford, a team that are decent, they're a good side, but they are in 11th, and it hasn't been a great run of results for them. I think this is their first win in about 8 games or something like that in all competitions. So they weren't in great form. They weren't in great form at all. So it's very much not a good day at the office, really. Like, I read some of your comments. Kyle said Brentford were really good today. At least they gave us a game to challenge and not go for the draw. Indeed, we've got to give Brentford massive, massive credit. Gundogan was crap, says Anime. Yeah, can't deny that, mate, unfortunately. What went wrong? Hated Brentford. Said the worst opposition I've seen since Atletico. To be honest, mate, I thought they were better than that. I thought they were. I thought they worked really hard. And they also attacked us on the counter. And so fair play. Tom says the ref was awful as well. By the way, look on the handball thing. I feel a bit torn by the handball because I think you couldn't really see if it was in the area or not. I honestly mean that. I don't blame him for not giving it. People disagree with that, but I don't think you can be certain because I think some angles look like it isn't and some angles look like it is on the line. But if you can't definitively see, I agree. The referee was finicky, though. He was finicky, man, and it was frustrating. Harry, look, I don't think the players would ever consciously not play well because of the World Cup, if that makes sense. But I think they're only human, and I think there's an element of it can feed into your decision making because you're worried. And it's not like they're being cautious consciously. I just do think when you've got at the back of your mind this massive anxiety about something going wrong, of course it's going to affect your confidence in a game. It is. And I think, of course, you make them bad decisions or you're not quite as aggressive. I think that's sadly just the lay of the lands, man. And I think that's that's just how it is. I think that's how it is, unfortunately. I think we didn't deal with it well. What I would have loved to have said, if that's going to be the case, bring on some players who aren't going there, man. Or, bring on Mahrez, bring on Cole Palmer. Just change it up a little bit. Or give Alvarez, who we know is going to be aggressive anyway, because that's his game. He's instinctively like that. Play the players that you think aren't going to care about the World Cup as much. And to me, that's what you should have done. I love you, Pep, but I think you got it wrong today. And I might be wrong that you got it wrong. I don't know more than Pep Guardiola. But once again, people will go, you think you know better than the manager? No, I fucking don't. I obviously don't. But this is a fan channel, man. We debate these things. And you guys have your opinions. And I have my opinions. And often people's opinions are bullshit, but we're entitled to them. And I do think, unfortunately, today was a good example of where we got it wrong. And that's how we were. In fact, actually, by the way, I know Ederson gets a lot of stick, but I think Ederson deserves a bit of credit for us not losing more comfortable today. Ederson made some big saves today, and I've got to give him the credit for it, because he did. Ederson deserves a little bit. Yeah, he did have a mare. What are you on about? I think Ederson was good. I disagree entirely. He had some big saves, so it could have been 3 or 4-1. That's how I felt about the game. But back to Arsenal, it's weird. Arsenal have started the season wonderfully, but I can't say Arsenal will carry this on for the next 2/3 of the season because I don't know if that's true or not. They might do, but all I do know is that once you get to the business end of the season and you've got teams breathing down your neck and you can see the Premier League trophy there, it comes very, very, very hard to do when the players are tired post-World Cup with that pressure looming on them, and say City beat them in a game or whatever, they might not do, but if they do, suddenly you start to feel expectation. Players get injured and suspended. It becomes very hard, and it's very easy to go, Arsenal right now in this glory kind of like honeymoon phase at the start of the season, it's easy for them right now. There's no expectation. They've done really well, don't get me wrong. They've done wonderfully, but there's no expectation. Switch it to the back end of the season, it's a different kettle of fish entirely, man. And you've got to be realistic about what they're going to do. They could do it, and if they do it, fair fucks, man. They'd absolutely, well, they deserve it, of course, if they do, but there's no guarantee. There's absolutely no guarantee, so we'll have to see. Why don't we use Ortega instead of Edison? Because Edison is our number one keeper, Luke Elliott. Edison was good today. Why are people talking about Edison? He was good. None of this was on him today. None of it was. Toney was good, man. He was good, yeah. I'm going to look at that England squad again because I can't even remember what it is entirely. But Ivan Toney, like, I would be furious if I were him, you know? He deserves it. He deserved to be in that squad, maybe. Callum Wilson there, I think, is fair. Callum Wilson's also had a great start to the season. Ivan Toney, you know, like, Ivan Toney probably should have been there. I'm looking at the squad right now. You know, Kane definitely. Rashford has had a good season, so fair enough. Sterling definitely. Maddison, Foden, Grealish, Bukayo Saka. I would have probably brought him there, you know, but I understand it. It's difficult. Look, it's very tempting to panic after a game like this, you know. It's very tempting. But ultimately, we have to be calm. We have to be calm. And remember, like, you know, it's a small part of a very big season. There's going to be so many more twists and turns this season. There just is. I mean, it's going to be tiring. It's going to be long. It's fragmented. There's going to be like a pre-season vibe again, post-World Cup, when the players try and get back up to form. It's going to be very hard. It's going to be very hard, so we have to be calm. We have to be calm. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching this. It's my friend's birthday, so we're gonna go and say happy birthday to him or whatever. Not good. That's fucking shite. I'll do a good old video, loads of videos this week, assessing the first quarter of the season, a third of the season, and we'll see how it goes. Love you all loads. It's not the end of the world. Remember that. Frustrating, but not the end of the world. Bye-bye. Like, comment, subscribe.